the different parts of their lives as they start out.
Wonderful question. I'm just going to put that in the room. That's not only yours. I am a survivor of a lost marriage because of this issue. Yes, another question.
This is to anyone and all. What are concrete ways in which you defied the isolation, reached to collaboration? We heard a couple of models as you articulated, and I gather that WBOA is another such, but I'm just curious about differing ways in which collaboration operates for you from the very profound structured way that everyone gets that is more informal.
How do we move from isolation to collaboration? Great question. Yes.
I'm curious about when you move out of that lean stage and you begin to expand and thrive. It's easy to make decisions in lean because it's all zero. I do it all myself. But when you move to that next level, how have any of you made decisions about where to market, where to put your money, what happens next when you can start to spend and reinvest in your business?
Great question. How do we get through that growing pain to take it to the next level? Yes.
Kind of a complement to that, but sort of taking it a step backwards. How do you, are there recommendations for coming from that place of abundance that Jay mentioned and sort of came across in the others, even though they didn't say it quite like that, but how do you get past that fear and doubt that, you know, that can I really make this work kind of thing? Are there any specific concrete practices or mindsets or things that you found helpful?
Great. Another question. Well, that sounds like an abundance of questions that are not unique to any one of these, nor to any one business. It's all of us. So I'd like to open the floor to the presenters, and perhaps you can speak from your seats. I think anything you would like to say on any one of those that really resonated with you.
In any particular
Any,
order?
no order at all. Jump right in.
All right, I'll jump right in. The question about how do you get it all done and keep your family first, I have 2 words for you: calendar blocking. If you need me to explain that further, you can chat afterwards. But I mean, it does become an issue. Like, one of the reasons that I quit my corporate job was because I was starting a family, and when you have 2 people in retail working nights and weekends, it's impossible to find daycare on, you know, Saturday night at 10 o'clock. I mean, unless you're willing to pay like an hourly babysitter, which that doesn't become very, you know, financially appropriate. So, you know, I do a lot of that. Like, I block off things that I know that my family's involved in, and then I schedule my parties around that.
Okay, thank you. Any question that resonated with you?
Well, do you mind if I go next?
Go right ahead.
I can comment. What's your first name?
Diane.
Diane. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
I can comment on the issue about family. I've had a lot of different things that happened. When I started the law firm with my good friend from law school, my daughter was 2 months old and my son was 22 months. I was planning on doing it a year from then, and this is where 2 kind of concepts came in. The opportunity came up. Someone called me for a referral for another attorney. She wanted to talk to me about this one firm who was working on her case. I recommended several people. We made such a connection. She talked to her husband, called me back. She said, "We want you to represent us." I said, no. I can't do this right now. I'm not going to really go back to work for another year. Talked to my law partner. We went back and forth. And I had to have the courage to say, wait a minute, maybe this is the right time to do this, but I have to do it my way. So I had worked at different firms and did different things before. I made a really conscious decision. For me, like probably every parent in the room, I wanted to raise my children my way. I didn't want somebody else raising my children. So what I decided to do was work a schedule that allowed me to be available. So I guess the thing I would say is, if you're raising kids and you're trying to start a business, you can do it, but for
Isolation. I first started with the TV, and then I progressed to the DVD, and then I progressed to getting out of the house. What I'm getting at is you have to make that effort because nobody's going to make that effort for you. So getting back to trying to are going to be enjoyable or of interest to you. And then start slow with those things. Now, when I first joined WBOA, I didn't go to every meeting because I was really shy and I was afraid to be around all these fantastic women. So I just went every now and then. I kind of grew up my, I hate to even say the word, but tolerance for it. And then, once I got used to being around these awesome women, I started venturing out into other groups where men were, because I was uncomfortable with that. Now you're not just dealing with all these fantastic women, but now you got the men in there mixing it up. So, venturing in and little by little, going to these different groups, making myself get out of the house. And it's easier when you know, like for WBOA, let's say, I'm using that as an example. WBOA is always the same date, time of the month. So you know when it is, so you can plan ahead, and you kind of gear yourself up. Okay, 3 more weeks, 2 more weeks, this week, I gotta go. So you can prep yourself and get ready.
I also want to talk about isolation because, especially in my business where I'm not interacting with people locally very often, I spend a lot of time Marcy in the computer in my home office alone, and there have been times in the business where I'm making so many decisions all by myself without enough information, without enough time. My husband will come home at the end of the day and say, "Marcy, what do you want for dinner?" And I go, "No more decisions. I can't." So I've done a very similar thing, just like finding various formal and informal groups of people, making meetings over coffee instead of over the phone just to get out of the house, taking on volunteer and side projects to mix things up and just get out and enjoy and learn from other people, and surrounding myself with other business owners and figuring out, this is someone I really like to connect with on work-life balance. This is someone I can really talk to about marketing and who I should be spending my advertising dollars with, and just finding those venues to have the personal connection and to have people to bounce ideas off of, so it's not just me and the computer every day all the time.
Somebody asked a question about how do you get past the fear of starting your business or wondering if you're going to be good enough. And it's kind of a twofold thing. First of all, I think that you will always have that fear to some extent. I think we all have that fear to some extent. But by just jumping and doing it, you'll get over that fear pretty fast because you're too busy thinking about actually doing what you set yourself out to do rather than thinking about the fear of doing it. So just kind of making that jump and going. And once you do it and you do it again and you do it again, you build up that resistance to that fear.
I'd like to also comment on that because in all the different professions I've had huge amounts of fear and doubt and really sitting with that, and that's why, like I said before, get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and not to pitch my own business, but practices, whether you choose to do yoga, meditation, breath practices, they're so, like, the more you do them, the better they get, and how they can completely change your life, transform your life from not getting rid of the fear, but learning how to skillfully manage the fear and the doubt, like simple breath practices that you can do every day. And also maybe ask yourself questions like this, like visualize, okay, this is too much, I'm not going to do it. How are you going to feel if you don't do it? How are you going to feel if you don't pursue this business or you don't continue in the business? Or another great question, there's this artist, Candy Chang, who did this beautiful art piece, and it's called Before I Die. She posed the question for people all over the world to write on chalkboards all over the world on these placards, before I die, I want to. Like, let that resonate in your heart and in your soul over and over again. How are you going to feel? Another way to ask it, before you die, you want to. And it's like, the fear is about just, for me, like, I'm not going to get rid of it. Like, when I used to practice law, people were always so nervous going into court. I was always nervous too. And I used to, prep people and I'd say, Don't try to say, I'm not going to be nervous. Of course you're going to be nervous. And when you say you're not going to be nervous, you're not going to be fearful or anxious, you're going to just get more fearful and anxious. Instead, maybe say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling nervous or anxious, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because you know what? So is everybody else. And then you realize we're so much more alike than we are different.
I'm going to bring this part to a close and give an opportunity for you to talk individually to people. And for me, this has been a very rich evening. How about for you? I want to thank everybody, all the presenters. I want to say that when I agreed to volunteer to host this, what I learned was WBOA is a sisterhood because you can't do anything alone. And it was amazing that about 20 people were out there. The people doing the call-in, the people who found this place, the library, Amy Wolf, who coached me, and just a number of people. And Robin came out all the way from Northampton to help with the camera. So it's just been fabulous. What I want to also say, as someone who pays attention a lot to people doing what they love and encouraging that, I'm very aware that it's November. It's the time we want to be giving thanks, or I hope we want to be paying attention to giving thanks. And one of the thanks I think we perhaps forget to give ourselves is thanks for our own treasures, our own gifts, the gifts of our children, the gifts of the people we know, to really thank ourselves for what we have and take ourselves seriously, to do something with it. So may you enjoy your treasures, basking in the delight with your treasures, and have a wonderful month. And I hope you'll stay and have some food and continue to talk with each other and the presenters.
Thank you.
Thank you.